So you've met this person and you finally get to hear some personal stuff of what they're going to say. So from the persuasive leadership pathway, we have Ruth Ansell with the speech title, A Wee Grain of Sand. Ruth Ansell, A Wee Grain of Sand.
Good morning, darlings. The purpose of this talk today is to introduce myself properly and say hello. I did this previously at the Smart Speakers Club in 2019 and at the Franklin Club in 2020. But the interesting thing for me was to reflect on who I am today, because it's certainly not who I was. Previously, when introducing myself, I discussed motherhood, my love life. There's nothing wrong with these things. However, these days, the things predominantly on my mind are vastly different. As I ponder this, I can see that the only thing we are guaranteed in life is change. Each of us is but a wee grain of sand, tossed through lessons on the shores of time. To bring this to life, let me walk you through some of my childhood and view this through the lens of today. I'm going to share with you 3 examples of my lessons in change. Learning to be carefree, agile, and resilient. Example number 1. My story begins when I was born in Hong Kong in the 80s. Dad was a Kiwi adventurer on the move, a hippie undergoing self-discovery, a traveling divorcee with young daughter in tow. Mom was a secretary from Hong Kong, searching for her own adventure. Mom would marry Dad and follow him all the way back to Melbourne. My 6 siblings would be born, and I would grow up in the remote country paddocks of Australia. I remember we used to wander for what seemed like hours, leap over the fence, and eventually wander onto some old woman's property, boldly entering the door before being offered sugar lumps by a completely kind and harmless stranger. The sugar lumps were gladly received. I remember we used to wander the forest surrounding my childhood home in Panton Hill in the outskirts of Melbourne. We used to walk for many, many hours. It was a place where time stood still. It was a place where the day's lessons were quickly forgotten, much to my teacher's dismay. It was a place where childhood worries and anxieties melted. It was a place where cubby houses were built, tales of alien invasions terrorized, and jellies taken from the pantry were triumphantly consumed with glee. I was innocent, ever present, simple. These were the days of being carefree. Example number 2, and next came the changes. Towards the time of the Hong Kong handover, Dad and Mom decided there would be better opportunities for our family back in Asia. So we packed up. I said goodbye to Freddo frogs, jam and cream donuts, best friends since way back, English-speaking neighbors in society, rainbow ice lollies, and big, cheap jars of the second best cream in the world. New Zealand, of course, having the first. I was letting go begrudgingly, feeling the upheaval, the transition, the struggle, the uprooting, the tension. I was learning to go with the flow, to accept what I could not control. These were the days of agility. Example number 3. And now I would find myself living in the countryside of Hong Kong. Maybe my parents were trying to replicate something of the bush lifestyle back home in one of the world's most crowded cities, choosing to live in a place that was as close to the countryside as you could call it for being in a city so densely populated. We lived in what was called a village. Every house was like a vertical brick. A Hong Kong village house is fully tiled inside and out in order to cope with the humidity. Besides an extremely narrow flight of stairs running up the side of each of its 3 floors, the interior was as normal and modern as most homes. It was extremely small, but the 3 floors made up for it. Hopefully this helps to create a picture for you. Now, who here has ever lived in a country where they did not speak the local language? Can I have a show of hands? Good, so you know what it was like. Well, that was me in Hong Kong in the 90s. We found a British family a few doors down, and suddenly we were all besties. Dad used to round us up and take us for 5-6 hour hikes over his favorite mountain, Horse Saddle Mountain. When we hadn't been on a big hike in a while, you just knew it was coming. Dad would start to get antsy, the bad weather was keeping him at bay. Next minute, the sun would be up, the sky would be blue, he'd be rounding up myself and the kids next door, we'd all pile into the van, and off we went. I was learning that if you moved to a cramped city, away from your beloved comfort zone of the Aussie bush, you needed to find a way to create your own happiness. You needed to find a way to bring back the magic. Except it was magic for Dad, not me at the time. I was learning to make the most of it. These were the days of resilience. Finally, fast forward to today. It feels as though I have lived through 1,000 lifetimes since. I have run a business, done 2 university degrees, changed careers 4 times, moved house more times than I can count on both hands, felt the full brunt of life's many major disappointments, like a family that didn't work out the way I planned. I've worked with people I've clashed with, had people in my life with mental health struggles, finally found a career with good people I get on with, and discovered a passion for some of the most interesting things that, growing up, I had no idea would ever fascinate me the way they do today. These days, I love my wild hobbies of yoga, meditation, podcasting, spiritual studies of all religions as a philosophy and insight into human behavior and psychology, tarot cards, bushwalks, singing. I think I have lipstick on my teeth. No. Okay, excuse me. Just checking, because it feels quite dry. So the thing that led me to these interests was witnessing the countless challenges, changes, and metamorphoses of my life. This showed me that life throws you many curveballs, begging you to rise to the occasion. And you can only do that gracefully by being carefree, agile, and resilient. In summary, I have learned much in the school of life. These are the things that made me, that equipped me for changes now and yet to come. As I look back on who I was as a little girl, who I was as a preteen, who I was in 2019, in 2020, I can see that the only thing we are guaranteed in life is change. Each of us is but a wee grain of sand, tossed through lessons on the shores